Hello, in the last video I showed you how to make a air ambulance pre-planning survey, and in this video I'm going to show you how to share it both as the survey itself, but also into a web map, which will help us make sense of the data we're collecting against other layers. All right, so the first thing is, now that I've published this survey, again, we can preview it and take a look and make sure we're happy with the interface. We can see here what it'll look like on a mobile device, at least using this browser version. We can do some testing. You can see here I got questions related to landing zones. The next thing I want to do is I want to be able to share it and collaborate, so to speak. So I'm going to click collaborate here. And for now, because I want people to be able to test this, I'm going to share it with everyone, but generally we would just share this with our organization. This means that the link to the form would be accessible by anyone, and I'll come back to this later, but I'll show you a really quick way to share it, either in the browser, in other words, just using a web browser, or using the Survey123 Field app. And I can send anyone this link, or they can even scan this QR code with their phone, and they'll be able to open this survey and begin collecting data. Okay, but what I want to do next is I want to add this to a web map. And we don't have a lot of time right now to talk about how web maps are made, but I did want to show you a web map that I made specifically for this particular use case. Just going to remove a layer here that I don't need. And basically, these are all layers that right now I would consider base data. In other words, using an open data platform called the Highfield Open Data, I've got access to a lot of really great base data across the country, such as law enforcement locations, fire stations, and probably really important to these stakeholders, hospitals. So I've already got a web map with a lot of good information on here, but what it doesn't have is our institutional knowledge, the data that we're going to be collecting. So I'm going to go ahead and add the layer that we'll be creating by filling out our form. And I'll just look up air ambulance here inside of my my content, and I'm going to go ahead and add this air ambulance pre-plans layer to my map. Now, we haven't collected any data yet, but what I would like to do is if you look at the symbols for this right now, they're just going to be red dots, and I'd like to give them a little more context. So what I can do is come in here and say I would like to symbolize my data by the waypoint type. At the NAPSG Foundation, we have a symbol library we can use for this. So one of the key things I'll want to be able to symbolize by is landing zone. Oops. And since these are landing zones that I'm collecting, I might use one of these helicopter symbols. If you just wait a moment, I'll find the right symbol. All right, here we go. This is the symbol I wanted to use for this. It's got a little EMS symbol there, so we'll know it's the ones that we are collecting. And I'll come back to my web map here. And I'm just going to symbolize the landing zones that I'm collecting using this image. We want it to be big enough to see on a mobile device. And that should work. We've also got hazards, traditional symbol used for aerial hazards. Let me just take a look here. There we go. That's a classic symbol for aerial hazards. We want those to really stand out on our map. Assets, I don't really know. That could be just about anything. What I'd like to do for this is I'm going to let it be, I could let it be a letter for now. And we can come back and fix that later on. For other, I might just leave that as a purple dot for now. What we're really interested in is this landing zone layer. I'll go ahead and click save here. We can clean this up. I'm going to click save on my layer. And I'm going to save my web map. Now this is a web map that could be used on its own. It'll be valuable just like this, but we're going to use it later in an application that will be really focused for our user, especially in the field. So that's just a quick preview of how to make a web map with Survey 123. There's lots more to do, but I'll go ahead and stop this video, and in our next video we'll learn about collecting data.